Hello students, good morning. Hope you're all doing well. So students, in today's session, we will be discussing about the furthermore topics to be included and covered in module 2 of talent and knowledge management. Okay. So the next topic of discussion would be management systems. So management systems are nothing but for these talent friendly organization, what are the various management systems used? So management system basically refers to a software package or an online solution which is being used by these talent friendly organizations in order to effectively conduct the talent management practices and activities of the organization. Okay, so under that we will be discussing about two major management systems. The first one is called as HRMS, which stands for human resource management system, and the second is going to be ERP, which stands for enterprise resource planning. So human resource management system is like an application software package which is being made by a lot of companies, and these companies basically sell them for various other companies who are into HR domain and HR related activities. This software package basically provides you almost all the requirements for you to conduct your day-to-day routine HR activities in a much more effective and an efficient manner. So right from payroll administration, recruitment, tracking of this recruited candidates, all of these things can be done automatically with the help of HRMS. Usually speaking, HRMS can be understood into or say categorized into two types. One is going to be a self-automated or a fully automated HRMS package. And one more thing is going to be semi-automated HRMS package, where it requires you to put your effort as manual labor with a little bit of push from technology and applications. Okay. The second is called as enterprise resource planning. Enterprise resource planning is basically like a software package which is being used by a lot of companies. The first step is you need to subscribe and install this software package in your system in the company, and this particular software application helps you to conduct almost all the activities which are taken up on a day-to-day manner in the HR domain. Okay, so that is what happens with enterprise resource planning. Almost all the major functions which have to be done in terms of planning, decision making, implementation, suggestions, each and everything that is required by the managers or the concerned higher ups of the particular department of under the HR domain, you will be getting all these details from the software, that is ERP. Okay, so let us discuss them in detail. First is human resource management system. As we already know that it is used in administration of basic human resource data such as payroll administration, compensation management, time management, etc., which is also going to be very important because not all the work can be done manually, right? When you give these kind of functions to be done with the help of these kind of software applications, it puts manual labor to minimum, wherein it just helps you to focus only on the major aspects or major areas like making strategic decisions, working on plans, executing these plans, and so on, so that you don't have to waste a lot of time on doing these basic functions. This particular software package automatically will help you do all these basic functions. Okay, so it is time saving, and it is also reducing the efforts and the stress levels of employees in the organization. The next is applicant tracking system. Now, what is ATS? So, students, I will have to give you a brief understanding of ATS. See, applicant tracking system is nothing but it's like an online system solution. Okay, which is nothing but like a software package, again, an application oriented software package. Now, once you have this software installed in your system in the company, whenever there is a vacancy, automatically this particular software has its roots and connections and networks with different job portals from where it will draw the various candidates, and that information will be sent to the concerned recruiter of the company, and he will take all these resumes and CVs which is being tracked down with the help of this ATS, and accordingly he will further process it, and then he'll be able to make the decision. Sometimes what happens is major decisions like how many CVs are being received, how many are being shortlisted, then what are the reasons for rejection, list of interviewees, and also the list of those who are going to get selected. Almost all the functions can be done easily with the help of the applicant tracking system. So that is going to be the benefit of this concept, this particular application software called as applicant tracking system. So as it is already mentioned here, it says it is a software which is typically meant to handle the recruitment needs of a company. Applicant tracking system is a regular feature of all HRMS globally, and the last point is just explained, right? It helps you to perform all of these functions, like tracking recruitment needs basically includes all of these functions, which is just given here in the last point, or say the third point. Then continuation of that, see, it is like a central location and a database for an organization's recruitment needs, because it is like a hub. all the information pertaining to recruitment and selection will be available in that particular system, so that anybody who has the authority to use it can automatically go switch in and then find out the facts and accordingly facilitate decision making process in the company. And then this also helps, these kind of packages basically helps you to have a better resume management practice in the company also, which is also going to make your task even more easy and more clear cut. See, one more important thing is, if you see, there are major recruitment portals, right? Online recruitment portals like Naukri.com, Monster.com. Now, all of these recruitment portals do have tie-ups with the ATS software packages, so that you will be able to track down the various people who are looking out for a job, and their resumes and CVs will be automatically sourced out with the help of ATS software. And then now, presently, the software is entering into small and medium enterprises by software as a service offering. So it is called a SaaS, which is also called as an open source. Open source because, see, you cannot always say that only big companies will have the ability to facilitate these kind of technologies or these kind of softwares. Now, this particular ATS is being made in such a way that even small and medium enterprises are also going to take the benefit from the software in the form of service as of software as service offering. And now it has become more like an open source, where anybody and everybody who want to take the assistance of the software can do so, but through authentic channels. Okay. Then the next is talent management system. So we know, right, talent management. I'll just tell you what talent management is, just to give you a brief up, and then we go for talent management system. So in talent management, we have discussed about the various ways and forms in which you can effectively handle, retain, and then take care of the talent resources of the company, so that they don't shift or move to some other company from your company, right? So talent management basically includes several activities like sourcing out, that is finding and acquiring the, or say capturing the talent resources. Then you need to place them in the various jobs which are kept vacant by the company, and then you need to promote them, give them training, give them the financial incentives, monetary, non-monetary incentives, succession plans, and many more things, till the person finishes his official tenure of service in that particular company. So all of these activities, which are much more technical and more strategic, are being taken care under talent management. Whereas talent management system basically refers to, like, it can also be referred to as ATS, that is applicant tracking system, which is nothing but like it is like a system solution, or it's like an online solution or a system application, which will be used in order to facilitate the various functions of HR domain. Now here, as it is mentioned, it can either be a standalone application, or it can be embedded or installed or be a part of the ERP and other HRMS systems. So it can be a single use standalone individual independent application, which can be separately installed in your system, and accordingly it will facilitate various activities connected with recruitment needs and various aspects of talent management activity. At the same time, it can be installed as a part of the major ERP system and other HRMS systems also. Okay, so TMS covers diverse areas rather than just one, which means the scope and the horizons is going to be much wider. It does take into consideration a lot of factors and a lot of parameters, based on which it is going to process a lot of data and give you a lot of fresh details, which can be used for you to make sophisticated and strategic decisions for the betterment of the organization. Then in an organization, talent management system solutions typically take care of the following, which means when you have TMS in your company, it helps you to perform these kind of activities in a much more effective manner, keeping in mind the time taken for you to complete that particular task, and the results to be generated within the time frame which is being given by the topmost management. First is performance management, which is purely to do with performance appraisal, evaluating the performance outcome, matching their actual performance with the pre-established standards, and accordingly giving them the scores, accordingly finding out the gaps between what is expected from the management as service versus what they actually contribute, and how to find a way in which you can fill or bridge the gap in the form of finding out the right training and developmental campaigns and programs to be initiated. All of these things will be taken care of by the first point, that is performance management, and this is all to be done only when you have the right TMS solution which is there in the company. The second is goal management. Goal management is purely to do with understanding what is the purpose for which the company was set up, number one, and then how can we effectively accomplish this big goal of the company, that is going to be second, right? Now in the second point, what we basically do is we are just trying to find out the best ways and approaches in order to break down this big company's goal into small individual goals, which will be assigned to different teams, different groups, and different employees across the organizational hierarchy, right? So that when each and every person accomplishes his or her respective assigned goal or task, automatically at the end, overall, when you take the total value, or when we aggregate the attainment of goals of all the employees, all the teams, and all the groups of the company, we will be in a position to make out that the entire goal or the big goal of the company is being effectively managed, effectively achieved, and reached, right? So all of this is possible because you know how to handle goals, how to manage them, and you must be in a position to do it in a much more effective way and a very tactful way, and that is possible with the help of TMS. Okay, then the next is talent acquisition. So talent acquisition basically refers to the ways in which you can acquire the talent resources from various job portals. Okay, so from online, like if you're talking about applicant tracking system, with the help of these kind of no, software packages, what we basically do is it helps us to automatically find out the various people who are looking out for jobs. It is going to match the requirements of the company with that of the details or the skill and expertise and qualification of those candidates, and accordingly make a match and assessment, and it is going to it is going to recommend and suggest us which are those resumes which you can consider for them to be considered as potential candidates for your company. So all of these things will be done with the help of these kind of systems, which is your third point, that is talent acquisition. The fourth point is learning management. Learning management is nothing but, here you must always know that in an organization we split up the employees or talent resources based on their skill levels, like unskilled, semi-skilled, and skilled, right? Irrespective of their skill classification, sometimes you must make sure that there is going to be this constant learning which takes place in the company, irrespective of the position or the domain held, because you need to make sure that employees are being informed, they need to upgrade and update their skills, and they should also be in line with what's expected in the market in a very global context, right? So all of these things can be done with the help of learning management. It's like basically finding a platform, providing an avenue where all the employees or the talent resources can learn new things. There is a lot of training sessions given to them. They need to acquire new set of skills so that they will be able to become domain experts, and they will also be in a position to take up even more higher level jobs based on their skill set and their exposure that they have acquired, right? All thanks to this kind of TMS, which helps you to take up all of these activities. Succession planning is basically like a path which the company has to give to the employees, or especially those people who've actually had a very good exposure and experience and a skill set in the company, and whose contributions have made very good success for the company in terms of bringing in new and fresh business to that existing company, right? So succession planning basically gives you even more clarity regarding what should be the standard path that these successors or leaders or these talent resources that they need to be taking in order to reach a better position tomorrow. It's all about self-development, and it's all about the holistic development of an individual, which is not only going to benefit him alone, but also going to benefit the people with whom he's going to work, plus the overall organization at the ultimatum. And then we talk about, again, learning management is repeated, sorry for that. And then finally, compensation management. So in compensation management, what we basically do is it helps us to determine what should be the pay scale payable, or the salary and remuneration that has to be payable to the employees based on the position held, based on the experience and skill set that they have, based on the contributions and services rendered by these talent resources. So there is something called as payroll administration, compensation plan. All of these things will be guided and monitored with the help of the talent management system. And let me tell you, the TMS also has various other subsystems to which it is going to have a connection with, a network with. With the help of these kind of networks, the TMS automatically updates the various changes that takes place in the remuneration policy of the company or the compensation plans of the company. And accordingly, it is going to facilitate and give you all the basic information and inputs, which can be helpful for you to give clarity regarding how much compensation or remuneration has to be fixed to which employee, and accordingly the decisions will be implemented, deployed, and that is what is going to be furnished to the employees also. So the amount of money which is payable to an employee and this calculation that takes place behind that is not being kept confidential. It is being it has been made more transparent, so that even employees understand how much deductions they make from their salary, how much is take home salary, what are the various kind of policies that are governing their pay. All of these things will be given to the employees, which is actually going to give employees even more transparency and accountability for whatever transactions are taking place in the company, or whatever exchanges is taking place between the company and the concerned talent resources. The next is how to build an integrated talent management strategy. So in order to have an effective talent management strategy, you must follow certain basic steps. Okay. So formulation of a talent management strategy is the responsibility of the HR function, because it is that domain which expertises in this particular area, which has to take extra care to come up with the best talent management strategy. If not, it is not going to get better results tomorrow, right? So let us see how we do it. The first step is aligning business strategies with the HR strategies. Yes. See, you must always understand the vision and mission of the business, based on which you will have to make your own individual strategies, which is nothing but perfectly align the strategies of the company with that of the strategies of this particular domain, which is HR. Only then you will be having a synchronization of strategies. You'll be having a connect, so that you may not make any flaws or mistakes, and whatever you do is ultimately going to affect the strategy of the business, which is going to be much strategic, and which is going to have a much more wider coverage for the entire organization as compared to just the HR strategies, right? The second is performance planning and evaluation. Performance planning and evaluation is nothing but you must plan for the performance. You must set standards which can be used as ways in which you can measure these actual outcomes of the employees, which is nothing but actuals achieved versus standards set or expected by the top management of the company. And by doing so, you're actually going to push the limits and capacities and potentials of the employees to do even much more better, right? So performance planning is very important. And apart from that, you must also find out the best ways and means through which you can evaluate the performance outcomes of the employee. Only then you will be in a position to find out whether an employee is doing extremely well compared to the rest of the employees or no. And one more best thing about this point is, when you do your evaluation, post evaluation, you will have to give a report, or you will have to give the feedback and follow up to the employee regarding how well he has excelled in his performance. If in case, if there are some employees who have not excelled well in their performance, you can find out such employees and give them some extra training, so that you can go about imparting new and fresh skill set, so that they can polish themselves and they can become better contributors tomorrow post the training session. So that is the reason we go for the second point. The third is going to be strategic manpower planning. Strategic manpower planning is nothing but trying to identify what should be the right quantity and quality of people required in order to fill the various domains and positions which are being kept vacant. Now, this can to some extent deal with what can be the expected, which is nothing but forecasting what will be the demand or the need tomorrow for these talent resources or manpower, and accordingly trying to make plans in advance, so that you do not end up in a situation where there is demand but there is requirement but there is no supply, right? So proper planning, adequate understanding of the market supply condition of these manpowers, accordingly taking your decisions and crafting them into your actionable plans, all of these things are going to be very, very important when you discuss about the third point. And the last point in building an integrated talent management strategy is mapping your talent. Mapping your talent is basically, you need to make sure that you place the right talent in the right position, give them the right assortment of spaces and spots which they can officially occupy, and accordingly you will have to tell them where they stand in terms of their talent requirements and expectations from the management, so that these people can be given the best of opportunities and avenues for them to take up challenging tasks in the future. And also they should be in a position to contribute voluntarily for the betterment of the organization, and that is what is going to be that is what is going to be justifying the term called as talent resource for the company. So map the talent, give them that exposure, give them that understanding of where they stand in terms of their talent element, and accordingly try to train and develop them, give them the platform for them to volunteer and initiate various process changes. And that is what is going to be a very good strategy for integrated talent management aspects, right? So this is how we go about building an integrated talent management strategy, which is going to be very effective and a very proven way of handling situations in a company. The next thing or the next topic that we would be discussing about is the myths about talent management. So myths here simply refers to the misunderstanding or the misconception or the false belief that people have in their mind about talent management. Okay, so the first myth is paying higher compared to rival firms will stop the employee from leaving. No, this is just a misconception. This is just a false belief. You know why? Let me tell you one more thing. If you remember, right from the beginning session itself, I'm telling you that not all employees work for money. Okay, not all employees work for money, in the sense money is not the only factor which people look into. When I say people, I refer to the talent resources. So talented people or talent resources do not look out only for the amount of money which is being paid to them. Okay, that is not the only factor which is going to help them retain or stay in a particular company. But apart from that, how much, what role you give them to play or enact, how much of space you provide them for them to voluntarily initiate and come about and bring about major changes in the company. Are you providing a very talent friendly organization? Are we giving them a very conducive working atmosphere? Are we providing them with the with a very good infrastructure, which is going to be very important, because these things can have an impact on their psychology and their overall well-being also, isn't it? So like this, there are several more other factors which are most important and not just money, right? So what do we understand from the first myth is that paying higher compared to rival firms, rival means competing firms, will stop employee from leaving. Not at all. It is not just money. Beyond money, there are many things that you need to give. That is what is not going to let them leave your company and go to the rival company, and not just the money. Am I clear? The second misconception or false belief that people have about talent management is rewards and incentives only motivate people. No, not at all. This is very similar to what to that of your first myth, right? It is not only rewards and incentives. It is that thing which you need to give, which should be more than just these rewards and incentives, like helping them to plan and chart their career progression, helping them with career planning, helping them with succession planning, helping them with providing the various kinds of informational inputs which can be used and taken advantage of for better decision making, giving them that organic work atmosphere where they can initiate, come up with new suggestions, recommendations, and accordingly bring about changes for the company, irrespective of whichever position or the level he holds or stays in. All of these are going to be very important factors which are going to motivate him, and not just rewards and incentives. So rewards and incentives are just one element of just one component which can motivate you, and that is not going to be the only component. Okay, the third misconception is employee engagement is useless. No, not at all. See, the amount of involvement that these employees have in the various activities that takes place in a company is going to be very important. You cannot you cannot force people to do things. You cannot pressurize people to do things. If you're doing so, people are just going to leave your organization and go to some other organization where they get that space, right? So what are we trying to say here is involvement and engagement of employees on a very voluntary manner is very important. That is what is going to determine the flow of activity, the rapport that takes place between the superiors and subordinates, and the kind of culture and energy that is being passed upon between all the people in that particular organization, right? So all of these things are going to be very important. Hence we say employee engagement is going to be very useful and important, and we cannot say it is useless, right? The last point is low growth periods do not require employee engagement. Not at all. It is actually in these times that you need more people to voluntarily come and initiate and bring about changes and give suggestions to the management, because it is only at that point of time that the company does not have a way in which it can overcome its growth rate, right? Its low periods, right? In terms of its growth prospects. So it is that particular point of time that you need the support and the voluntary involvement of these employees, where they engage themselves with the various problems that is taking place in the company, and they will find out, based on their experience and their research and analysis and assessment, they will suggest you various alternative methods of handling that situation, which will help you to better handle that situation and overcome this particular phase and take the company to a better height, right? So that is what can happen. Hence we say that low growth periods definitely require employee engagement, without which you will not be able to transcend from this low growth phase to a good growth phase, right? Next, what are the current trends in talent management? See, the first thing is there is this talent war that is taking place in the market. Talent war means every company wants to have or acquire the best of talent resources available in the country. But the problem is, do we have that amount of supply of talented resources in the market? So there is going to be this stiff competition and a war-like situation for acquiring the best of talent in the market by all the competing firms. It can be related competition or unrelated competition, but ultimately they want to have the best chunk of talent resources working for their company, because these talent resources can actually help the company to take better shapes in the future in terms of profitability, in terms of exposure, in terms of competency, and also in terms of competitive advantage. The second trend is technology and talent management. Yes, see, traditionally talent management used to be much more conventional, much more much more to do with what the person feels is right. It's like more to do with manual labor, where there used to be one person or a few selected people who would sit, discuss, analyze, assess, and accordingly come up with suggestions and decisions, and then make sure that these decisions or suggestions are converted into executable actions. Okay. Now, for this, you need to. There was a lot of time required, a lot of effort required, and to implement it again takes time. To check and validate the implementation process and procedure again takes time. To identify what has been the consequence and aftermath post implementation again takes time, right? So when you have technology in which can act as a supporting element for you to do all of these activities, then actually the time taken to do it is being increased. In the sense, the speed of doing it is being increased, which is going to be good for the company. You don't have any work delays. Schedules can be met on time. You don't have to be excessively working extremely hard in terms of putting all the efforts, right? Because technology is going to provide you that platform where you can get majority of these functions to be done by the technology, and accordingly it will facilitate you to do various activities in a much more productive and progressive manner. So technology is definitely being a very important aspect, which is contributing vehemently to the field of talent management and talent management related activities. Okay. The third is promoting talent internally. Very important. It is all about this is actually related to the topic of IJP, internal job posting. IJP, internal job posting, is nothing but, see, whenever there is a vacancy coming up in the company, what we basically do is, traditionally we go place an advertisement on print media or the company's official website or some other platform where you will get, where people see it, and those people who fit that particular job, they will apply, and from them you are going to call few people, select their resumes, and shortlist their resumes and CVs, and from them you'll be inviting few people for the interview, and so on, and then once they clear, you place them, and so on, so will take place, right? Now here, when we talk about promoting talent internally, instead of going and finding out for talent resources outside in the market, you will find out such employees or such talent resources within the company itself. That is, if you feel that any employee or a talent resource is doing extremely well in terms of whatever job is being given to him, if he has that edge in him, if he has that extra element in him which can help you to identify or use the capacity of such employees, then automatically you can take the help of that person, or you can take that person and place him in a higher most in a topmost position or a higher position in the form of going for promoting talent internally. So these things are going to be very important because already you have a very good understanding of that employee. There is going to be a very good rapport which is already being built. So if you are going to come up with a new employee, you need to take, it takes time for you to understand and accommodate with that employee. And again, it's all going to be wasting your time, right? So that shouldn't happen. This is much more an easy way of doing things compared to what you can do in a very conventional manner. Okay. The next is talent management to rescue HR. Yes, talent management activities, functions, models, and then practices, application software packages. All of these things are actually going to be very important, which is going to rescue the HR in terms of facilitating him with all the resource and information inputs which can be used by him to make effective decisions and also implement them. Many a times these decisions cannot be done all alone without the support of these talent management activities and systems. The last is increase in employer of choice initiatives, which means all thanks to talent management system and the kinds of changes that have taken place in this domain. Today, we have more choices available in the hands of the employer in terms of finding the best of best talent and accordingly placing them in the right position. All thanks to this kind of a thing that is taking place, like ATS, applicant tracking system, HRMS, and so on. All of these things have actually helped you to make the better. Now, it helps you to find out the right candidate and place the right candidate to the right position, which is kept vacant in the company, which is actually going to make the role of the HR even more superior, even more effective, even more advantageous for the company in the long run. Okay. Next, building blocks of talent management. So when I say building blocks of talent management, it simply means that talent management cannot be complete without having considered these several significant vital elements. Okay. So what are the building blocks of talent management? Number one, competencies. Number two, performance management. And number three is going to be evaluation of employees' potential. Now let us discuss each of these points in detail. Number one is competencies. So what are competencies? See, competencies basically refer to those skills which the talent resources possess in them, which some other person may not be a perfect substitute to because they would specialize in that particular activity or that particular skill. For that thing, we call it as competency or competencies. One more thing, if you are extremely good at something where nobody else can match you to that particular aspect in the way you do it, you have that competency in you, isn't it? Number one. Number two, in order to convert your competency into core competency, you must have the ability to sustain that level of excellence in whichever area you have competency in a very effective way, so that you will be in a position to convert your just competency into your core competency. And for that, you need to go through a lot of experiences, a lot of exposure to various kinds of situations which are going to sometimes go against your competency and test you to see whether you are able to handle that complication, right? All of these things are going to be important, which will be covered under competency. So now under this competency, let us see some of the criterias or parameters or key factors which are going to be determining the competency level of a person. Number one is, if you see here, it is mentioned here, number one is qualification. So what is your qualification? Are you an MBA? Are you an MCA? Are you an ME? Or are you a BCA holder? According to the qualification, that is going to be one criteria. Second is going to be, what is the total number of years of experience that you have in doing a particular task or in a particular domain. Basically, it is going to be all about your domain knowledge or domain experience that you have. Okay, domain experience that you have in the company. Like for example, we call it as industry experience. Okay. Next is going to be skill set. What is going to be the assortment of skills that you possess in you, or what is the basket of skills that you have in you, which will be used by you in order to complete a particular task which is assigned to you. Next is going to be knowledge base, which is nothing but how much of clarity and conceptual understanding do you have about the activity or functions that takes place in the company. which can be related to the job that you perform, or which can also be activities which may not be related to you directly, but you must have a common understanding of that area. All of this thing is going to be your knowledge. Let me tell you, knowledge does not mean only conceptual ideas or conceptual clarity. It also includes your practical knowledge in terms of how you can apply these concepts in real life situation. That is what is going to become a good knowledge base. Okay. And then the last is going to be the performance of the candidate in aptitude test, which is going to be very important, because that is also going to be one of the factors which will be considered as your competency. Okay. And then the next would be the various platforms or areas where you can probably have a competency in. Okay, you might be good in administration, you might be good in, or your competency area can be payroll function, or you might be extremely good in policy making, you might be extremely good in strategy formulation, you might be having that edge in taking care of the managerial functions, ethical consideration, and also adherence to organizational norms. Competencies are important, competencies are essential, but competencies should also make sure that you follow the ethical considerations, and you must follow the various rules and regulations which are being stated by the company in terms of the norms of the company. Okay, the next is going to be performance management. So under performance management, here we are going to identify the various performance measures. So how do we measure performance of a person? What are the indicators? Number one, capacity, which is nothing but what is going to be the relative level of output that a person can contribute on a particular day in terms of his physical capacity to produce something. Okay. Second is going to be the capability, out of the box value addition. It means beyond what has been assigned to him as a task, which is being done in a routine manner, is there something which this employee is going to contribute beyond what is being expected from him? Is there going to be anything extra which has been taken up as a voluntary measure or an initiative by the employee, which is going to which is going to contribute for the growth and prospects of the company in which he is rendering his service for? Second one. Third, productivity is nothing but how productive he is, keeping in mind the time taken to process to do a particular task, the extent to which the established standards are being matched with his actual outcomes, whether he has that ability to match what has been expected as a productive measure from him as an employee. All of these things can be a part of productivity. Okay, and not wasting resources, making judicious use of resources, being more transparent, being more adhering to standards. All of these things are also going to be factors which can influence the productivity element of a person. And then competency. So how competent he is, what are his competencies, how can we excel his competency, how or what is that employee doing in order to convert his just competency into a core competency. All of these things will be covered here. Sensitivity, that is how sensitive he is in the work environment, where this can be understood from two perspectives. Number one, how proactive he is to situations and circumstances, and how reactive he is. Proactive is always trying to take a precautionary measure and trying to keep your best foot forward, keeping into due consideration the consequences of every action and decision that you're going to take up. Reactive is just reacting to what has already happened, which may not be so important, but how you react and how you take that particular experience forward in making sure that a similar negative situation does not happen in the future is also going to be very important when we discuss about sensitivity level of an employee, which is also going to be a performance measure. Employee engagement, which is nothing but is the employee volunteering and taking up voluntary initiatives for the betterment of his peer groups, for the betterment of the team or group members, for the betterment of the seniors and subordinates, for the betterment of the company as a whole. Then commitment level, he should be very committed to his goal, very committed to whatever is being given to him as a task to be accomplished. That is what is going to be used as an effective element to ascertain his performance. Then we go to the last element, that is evaluation of employees' potential. So how do we do it? Basically, Evaluation of employees' potential here refers to the ability to perform or relative ability of performance of an employee. Okay, so that is going to be very important. So here we go for doing something, for taking up something called as potential appraisal. So what is this potential appraisal? Who all can do this appraisal? Appraisal is nothing but evaluation of your performance or your capacity or your potential to do something. Okay, first is self appraisal. As an employee or a talent resource, you must have the capacity to evaluate your own performance by your own self, just to just to make sure that you are consistent with respect to what is expected from you with you. Okay, second is peer appraisal, which is nothing but the evaluation that takes place from your peer work groups or your peers who are going to be your colleagues and other people who work with you in the office. These people also can help you to evaluate your potential and give you feedback regarding the overall potential that you have and the capacity that you have in you, which can be stretched when you properly focus and accordingly take corrective measures. Manager or supervisor appraisal is nothing but these people also can be appraised, and they can also appraise your performance, which gives you very good insights in a very practical and very good insights regarding where you stand in terms of your potentials. See, potential is basically something which can be stretched or contracted based on how you fine tune your internal thinking, in your mental impressions that you hold regarding how you can stretch your horizons and stretch your capacity to do better work and so on. And then management by objective is a concept whereby the company's goals are being further fragmented and divided and then given as small individual goals to every single team. And again, in each of these teams you will have a team leader. Each of the team leader will take the position or the responsibility to further fragment the team's goal into individual team members goals. So automatically this is the way in which you can actually stretch the potential capacities of people, so that even they feel that only if I individually contribute my task, I will be able to, we will be in a position to complete the overall task which is given to the company in the form of accomplishing the complete or the big goal of the company. That is what has been technically taken, taken forward under the concept of management by objective or MBOs. Then psychological tests are basically taken up in order to find out what are those fears that these employees have. Like, are there some bottlenecks, are there some roadblocks which are there in their mind or their psychology, which is not letting them to use their fullest of potential. All of us have very good potentials and capacity. Anybody can do everything, but there can be some sort of fear, anxiety, or some sort of inferiority complexes that people might have, which can actually not let them to rediscover and relearn and redo things in a much better way. So these psychological tests are undertaken in order to find out such gaps, and they are going to suggest various ways in which you can bridge these gaps or bottlenecks. Next would be management games. Yes, a lot of management games, are being taken up in order to make sure that you are going for overall holistic development of a person, and it also helps a person to expand his potentials or his capacity to excel his performance. And then leadership exercises are a lot of role play exercises, a lot of activities which will be given in order to make sure that you can become a leader. And if you are a leader, you must always have good potentials, because it's not only you doing things, but you should also set a standard for other members who are going to look up to you as a leader, and they should get inspired by you. And for that, you must have the ability to better do yourself well in terms of expanding and putting extra efforts to reach out to the mark, reach out to the fullest of your capacity, and accordingly convert that into your competency, right? So all of these things are being discussed in this. So students, what we will do is, for today's session, we will stop it here. The remaining topics we will be discussing in the next class. Thank you, students.